Well, we're somewhat stranded at home, waiting for wheel bearings and shocks and other bits and pieces after the last misadventure. Decided to take advantage of that time at home. So a bit of a test fit, and as we'll roll up like that. Decided it was also time to do the refurbishment of the seat, get it painted, ready to be fitted. After the wheel incident, obviously there's a little bit of anxiety about the wheels falling off, so decided that it's time for a road trip to test it out. Short overnighter, not too far from home, so that I could check the wheel nuts and the wheel bearings and make sure nothing was going to fall off before going a little bit further afield. testing out the indoor cooking setup tonight with our fancy new hot plate, which fits on the camp stove. It's not actually designed for this camp stove per se, but it's actually designed for the one that I'm looking at buying down the track, but it works on this one, so we're using it on this one. It works really well for keeping out of the weather when it's quite windy outside. It's a pretty red sunset out there through the trees as well. As you probably spotted from previous videos, burgers are generally my thing to cook. This time around we're doing chicken ones because they're nice and easy. Can't find my sharp knife, so I'm going to butcher some cheese with a butter knife like a scumbag, but it's going to work and it's going to be good. Now that we've got hot water, may as well wash up last night's dishes ready for breakfast. World's biggest barbecue striper for the world's smallest barbecue. Slightly out of level. So I'm wasting too many paper towels. Wash it off. Slightly more environmentally friendly option. We've just come from the coast out there, up through this valley. It's the Tirakina Valley, and weaved our way around, come up to the top of here. So there's water getting in through here into the inside, and subsequently running in and making the gear wet. So we're going to fix that problem by covering up this hole where the radio antennas used to be. With a plate about the same size. So, in keeping with Land Rover trim, I'm going to use some checker plate. Well, that definitely didn't work. Now I've just got to replace the temporary bolts. I've got a weather strip in behind it, and one that runs through about here as well, maybe just up here. Hello and welcome back to your weekly edition of Quilting with MAVIS. Seriously, it is starting to seem a little bit like the sewing channel, so I haven't filmed all of this, but after a recent trip, the one-piece mattress really started to annoy me, but not so much that I wanted to spend the money to buy one that's already in three pieces. So, spending hours of my life that I'll never get back with some material that's laying around to make my own three-piece mattress out of the one piece that I've got, or hopefully we'll soon find out once I cut it into pieces and find if it fits or not, which sounds like my kind of adventure. It's been an ongoing battle throughout this whole saga. Is running out of cotton on the bobbin. Do not fear, we have more. So where the fuck are we actually sewing from now? You hear something. I have to say, this is the part I'm finding the most tedious and confusing. I'm not an upholsterer, and some of this is a little bit of guesswork because it's about the only way that I can do it. Well, not the only way that I can do it, it's the only way I know how to do it. Done okay sewing up the likes of curtains and otherwise that are two-dimensional objects, but once it becomes a three-dimensional object and trying to get the seams on the inside and all that sort of thing, it's becoming quite the challenge. And if it doesn't work, I'm going shopping for a new mattress that's already in three pieces and has a cover on it. The other problem with the three-piece mattress is the one I ultimately want that's a whole lot more comfortable doesn't come as a three-piece and only comes so it's actually a 6-inch thick, or 150 mil for those who are using the metric system.
is a one-piece mattress, so 150mm thick, whereas the three-piece is 100mm thick, which is exactly like I've got. And so I don't see the point in spending money to upgrade something. It's not really an upgrade, it's a little bit more practical, but it's not giving me comfort. So in the interim, while this is just an adventure vehicle and so on, I'll save some money, spend a bit of time, and see that this layout and this system works. Then I also know how to make the cover for my 150mm thick comfortable mattress if I find that I'm spending my time on the road in the future, which is certainly my plan. And so this one should suffice perfectly fine. I'm not over investing or investing in something that is fit for purpose currently and doesn't need upgrading. It's part of that theory of get out and test the setup, develop the setup as you use it. Same as I've done with my bikepacking gear. I started out with really basic, cheap stuff that got me out to see if I were enjoying it, see what I needed, where I could find some benefit before throwing large amounts of money that I simply don't have at a problem that's not actually there. So now let's see if we can stitch all this together and make a mattress out of it. Here's hoping. Well, that would be typical, wouldn't it? If I thread my sewing machine properly, it works so much better. What mystery colour can we use this time? Pink. Not a colour I use often. Possibly not a colour I've ever used. But as this machine belonged to my late grandmother, I'm using a lot of these random ends of bobbins because it simply doesn't matter to me. Now, where were we? Let's say it starts here and hope we're right. Fuck's sake. Okay, so it wasn't the zigzag stitch, it wasn't too much material, it was just the fact that I know bugger all about sewing machines and hadn't threaded the thread properly or noticed that it had unthreaded and it was binding up. So now I'm stitching everything with the pins underneath, adding just that little bit of danger to it because it's going to stab me any minute as it feeds through. After a quick bit of googling, apparently a sharp breed knife is the way to cut foam. You can see why. The consistency is very similar to that of gluten-free bread, so it seems. So far, so good. Well, it's not going to win any awards, but it's going to be really functional. A little bit of hand sewing with what's probably a wool needle, but it's also the needle I've got, so it's what I'm going to use. So while that's a big improvement, there's still a few little things that could make life so much easier, and I just can't sit and leave it undone. So let's do that. Clearly, I'm much more used to working with timber than with a sewing machine. You might notice in the last video that I jammed something in between the center divider and the block. The purpose of that is so that we have any moisture absorbed by the timber or just movement in general can still get the divider in and out easily. They don't need to be tight. But also because I'm screwing on a slight angle. So all I could get were 25mm screws, and it's a 24mm sandwich between the two pieces of 12mm plywood. Making sure that if I do pull anything out, because I need to use this as a yoke for any reason in the future, that I'm not going to get barbed by screws when I do it. You may notice the addition from last time is this lip on the top, and that's because it gives a bit more support at the join. The other good thing is, unless I'm sitting at camp for a long time, I don't need to get underneath to get the likes of chairs or tarpaulins out. So they can sit under there. And because of our newfound trickery, I no longer need that brace, which makes it easier to get things in and out of this section. The likes of food will most likely live under here now. And nice and simple to get out. Fit out may look a little bit loose, and it is. I purposely haven't done everything to an interference fit because things move around so much, and all of these timber panels and the timber framework just sit in here to make it super easy to pull it out and use it as a ute if I have to, for ferrying supplies or parts or that sort of thing, or also for using it as a backup vehicle for my business, which is sort of what it is also. So just, that's part of the reason why the fit out's not as perfect as I would prefer it to be or as I'd like it to be in otherwise, but functionality and, well, it's a multi-purpose vehicle, it's the most logical way to do it, and it's also the first fit out while I work out how exactly I want everything. And so, as we've seen so far, there's multiple incarnations and no right and wrong way of doing things. So as time goes on, I have no doubt that this will change, and so it's pretty much a prototype, so it's not the production model, so it doesn't have to be immaculate underneath, but it certainly serves its purpose for what I'm doing with it so far.